Hey Ricky, thanks so much for joining us today for this JumpCloud Partner Success Interview. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Starting my morning out, just dropped off my son at daycare. So now it's time to get in the tech grind.
Yeah, well, let's get to it then. Starting off a little bit with maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself and your MSP business.
Yeah, sure, Chris. So been in the game for probably about 23, 24 years now, right out of high school. Kind of went into web design and partnered up with another gentleman that was actually in the MSP business. That was, tech support forward, networking, system admin, endpoint management, pretty much all of those different hats and everything. And he kind of taught me the ropes on that. He needed a web and creative designer. I was pretty tech savvy, more on the mechanical side. I loved working on cars through high school and tinkering. And kind of from there, I transitioned out of the creative side and more into the tech support side. And we had a partnership going, and we are managing about 4 or 5 bread and butter clients, probably about 40, 50 employees at the time. So for me, jumping, into the deep end right away and learning the etiquette, learning how to solve things, on the fly. We did have Google at the time, but a lot of things were DIY, learning how to take the stresses and come up with a quick solution. So that's kind of where I started kind of easing into all this. And here I am 20 plus years later. One of my retainer clients turned full-time W-2 or full-time position, and I still run my business also with about probably now, I'd say a good handful of 10 to 15 different clientele that's either on the JumpCloud platform or some other platforms that I do, partner up and manage. But yeah, it's been busy, a fun journey, and got some gray hairs out of it, but here I am today.
No, that sounds great. And 23 years. So I guess you mentioned sort of Google and things probably were around, but things like tools and the multi-tenants and being able to automate things, that just wasn't available back then. So it was much more kind of going around by hand with CDs or floppy disks and
That is
doing
correct.
that.
My wife and I just bought a place about 4 years ago. We're Los Angeles based, by the way, over here in California, in the United States. But we bought a place about 4 years ago, and we're finally we had a baby boy 2 years ago almost, so we're trying to catch up with life a little bit. But I was cleaning out my closet the other day, and I had one of my original backpacks that I used to carry around, about probably retired it 15 plus years ago, and I still had all my CD booklets, still had some Windows NT discs in there, Windows 7, Vista, XP, all that good stuff. But yeah, I definitely did start out. Maybe I was late on the grind there, but I did have my CD booklet. I think PC Anywhere was kind of a thing. Obviously, we had the RDP tools, but our biggest thing, I think, we didn't have much copper or DSL or T connections and stuff. We still had some dial-up clients at that time, so I kind of those pain points. Remote forward, it was definitely surfacing and coming up, but you either had connection limitations or other things. So it still was a lot of driving. I put a lot of miles on my car that first year working together and everything. But it definitely humbled me. It got me understanding the business. And I think if I didn't have that experience then, I probably wouldn't be where I'm at today for sure.
No, and I was talking to someone only last week. I think it was on one of these interviews about CDs and DVDs. I think it's almost impossible to throw them away. I hate to think how many ex-engineers have got wallets of Microsoft Action Packs and CDs and things in their garage, thinking, "What am I going to do with this Windows NT 3.51 installer?" But you can't seem to get rid of them. And the other thing you mentioned there was PC Anywhere, which is genuinely a product I've not heard, I don't think I've heard anyone mention in the last 20 years. So yeah, it was
It dates me a little bit for sure.
but it's yeah, but that was the solution back in the day. So that definitely takes me back. I wonder what happened to those guys. I don't know. But yeah, so it's obviously a lot of things have changed over time in the MSP community, and obviously you've evolved and things. So I guess if we move on to a few questions we've got, one of
Sure.
which is around um, the kind of, I suppose, the evolution of directory services. So you've probably seen it from sort of NT and then Novell, and used to have sort of directories, and then Active
Yes.
Directory came along, and JumpCloud is a directory. Google's got directories. I mean, what solutions do you generally offer to your clients in the sort of directory services space?
So kind of a unique thing for me. So I have a pretty wide umbrella of different services I support. Some techs are, strictly Microsoft, some are strictly Google. I'm open to new ideas and innovations. So for me, I've got to play around with quite a bit of tech through my time. Active Directory was obviously one of the most, I don't want to say trendiest, but it trended as the most common, whether it was a prospect I was going to take over or ended up being, taking on as a client. Active Directory definitely was probably the most common for me. Today, and this is not like a JumpCloud ad thing, but I've been a big fan since I was introduced to JumpCloud, not as an MSP, but under my full-time position as a system admin at the time was my title. I actually had a pretty clean slate where we had a lot of unmanaged. I would say we had an unmanaged solution in the place probably 5, 6 years ago, and I was on the prowl for that company is a Google Workspace company. And I was I was on the prowl for like, what's the next thing? This is kind of my playground. The C-suite has been able to be like, hey, we got a certain budget for you. Tinker, have fun, bring something that's going to work great. And in fact, all of these computers and users were on-prem at the time. It's about 50% were Macs, 50% were PCs at the time. No Linux in that environment. But I was like, oh, we got all these unmanaged accounts. We got no Active Directory in place, no Windows Server on-prem. A lot of the items were SaaS already, but obviously no SSO, no management there other than the admin portals for them. And I go, well, I remember seeing an ad on, I think it was searching Google for like cloud directory, and JumpCloud popped up. And okay, let me try all this out. And guess what? 2 weeks later, COVID hit. So I'd already tinkered with that, that trial tenant on it. And I spun up a couple test machines, and now we're full remote. I actually had to get shipping cases for our iMacs off Amazon so they could carry them like a briefcase out of it, because we didn't really have many laptops in that company. So, basically in 2, 3 weeks, we were dialed into JumpCloud, migrated Google's directory in it. And I go, wow, I'm so happy we didn't have to sit there. Now that I've been able to work with Active Directory migration tools and so forth with JumpCloud, those are great. But, I was able to flip a switch so quickly and get us on board, within a time where we weren't remote before. Most of our users maybe would work remote once or twice a week if they did have a laptop, and that's maybe 4 or 5 employees out of 100 employees at that time. So it kind of made me a very big fan of the product before being a reseller or a partner. So like I said, that was COVID 4 years ago or a little bit over that. And now, as a consultant of 20 plus years, I've actually just recently become a partner with JumpCloud in the last year. So fan for 4 years, reseller slash partner slash, acquaintance with my clients for a little bit over a year now. So that's kind of my story of directories. And now I don't want to be biased, but I will support other directory structures. I will take on a prospect if they're on Active Directory, or maybe they're using Workspace only or something like that. And I'll go ahead and I'll pitch the product, but obviously I'll support what they want to do, but I will heavily push on my beliefs and what I feel is going to work best for the client in the long run. So it's my directory journey for the last few years.
And it's a unique one, I'm sure. I think you're the only person I've spoken to that almost came to it from working in an organization, looking for a solution for that organization, and then taking it out further. And you're right. I think that, as you say, as a Google search initially, and that's what you found, and then COVID came. And I think that I often say that as an MSP community, I'm using this kind of royal we here because I didn't do too much of it myself, but we did an incredible job of helping businesses transform from on-premise to work from home in no time at all. Which I think if you'd have been speaking to your employer at the time, saying we probably need to get everyone ready to work from home, there would have been kind of, well, what's the rush? We won't do it. It's probably we'll do it in a few years. It would have been a year-long project. Whereas everyone had to do it in almost a weekend, because that's just how quickly it all changed. And MSPs had to stand up and do that, whilst themselves having to work from, to start to migrate to work from home as well. It seems like a lifetime ago now, but it was such a crazy time. Yeah.
Well, Chris, I'll add a really fun one on here. It's so I have a close friend of mine that's a super tech nerd. He's part of the Disney family. He's 4th generation Roy Disney. I actually worked, he was looking, he's been with the family. He's been around the business. He's been around Disney. He actually has a lot of good contacts over Walt Disney, the main corporate offices, Disney Imagineering. So I had a great introduction that he brought actually a few weeks beforehand of that JumpCloud experience before COVID. I'd hired Roy at the time to work with us over at Primitive. He wanted to learn the ropes, wanted to kind of understand system admin positions, not really an intern side of things. He just was interested in how things work there. He's seen the Disney corporate side. So his colleague he introduced me to is very Microsoft driven. That's what Disney uses at that time. I'm not sure if that's still their infrastructure. So I kind of already had a vision of using, at that time it was Azure, right? So we kind of had an idea spun up with that. And then we had the JumpCloud. I go, well, JumpCloud seems like that one partner that just wants to work with you. I love their YouTube videos. I love the support side of it. I just felt like I had that hand there to want to help integrate the product into our environment. You're not here to bash on the Microsoft side on things, but you got to call 4 different extension lines and hopefully you get through, and then you get that support. And then it was just refreshing to actually have a company that just wanted to be a partner, not on the MSP side, but just be a partner as a software solution at the time. So that's once again also unique. My situation's unique. The company and the product was unique at the time for sure, and
Yeah,
still
and
is.
yeah, and we're definitely not in the business of bashing Microsoft. I've got a lot of respect for them.
Yes.
The MSP community generally is all born from Microsoft with sort of small business server and things back in the day. So yeah, Microsoft have played a huge role
Oh
and
yeah. Oh yes.
continue to do so. Yeah, absolutely. I guess it's people want choice and flexibility and things now. And that you mentioned, the clients have probably got a mix now of Mac and Windows, and people want to treat them. It used to be the case that Macs were treated as sort of second-class citizens in a corporate IT environment, but that
Yes.
just can't be the case anymore. Yeah.
I'm a little bit of a Mac fanboy, but I started on Windows platform. But yeah, you're exactly right. I'm seeing a lot more trend on the Apple side, SME, SMB, like even 5 user. I have clients that either range from 5 end users to my largest 250. Um, so it's not the largest size, but I've got different scopes of things, right? And one thing that I do see that trends between a lot of my clients that run an MDM solution or directory solution, regardless if that's JumpCloud or something else, you see a lot of iOS devices in. I have a lot of warehouse logistics clients that either distribute chemicals, they have government contracts for things, that aerospace, Primitive, which is my full time that's on the platform. We do skate and action sport goods and fashion and shirts and so forth. So I've seen so many different industries, but they still have like a distribution company. Their truck drivers on iOS devices and they want to lock them down. And in a skateboard company, we want to make sure that our skaters' iPads and everything when they're traveling are secure. And if they need to, if they break it or something, you need to be able to drop ship them one or go to the Apple store and spin up one really quickly for them. So there's definitely a lot of different scenarios, but the Mac, especially on the zero touch kind of flow of things, mobile devices, computer devices, it's pretty cool. I'll just keep it like that. I have fun working with Apple product quite a bit.
Yeah, very cool. And the zero touch deployment on Apple is something that's sort of super exciting. But you're right. You mentioned it's choice now. People are coming to the workplace and almost want to choose their own device because it's such a competitive market to get good staff. And when they come in and say, "Well,
Agree.
I want to work on Windows or I want to work on Mac," that's kind of what you. It's then down to the company and their MSP to sort of make that happen. Whereas back in the day, you mentioned PC Anywhere and the old tools. I remember back in the day, if I wanted email on my mobile device, I'd have to have BlackBerry, the corporate,
Yes, yes.
and I had to have a Toshiba laptop running Windows, and it had to have Outlook. It was very very regimented and sort of dictated from the top. Whereas now it's much IT seems to be a lot looser, which causes a lot more problems for MSPs and admins.
Sure. Yeah, yeah, that's totally true. Almost all of my MSP side for sure that I managed, they a lot of them are trending into more BYOs. Either it's a contractor base, outside sales. I don't care, even if it's a company with 100 internal and they have 5 external, I still treat it like a 50-50 for me. The BYO is just as important, if not more important, because I already have the internal lockdown for them, right? So, and the great thing on the JumpCloud product is I'm not just supporting BYO on a Windows base or on a Mac base or iOS base. It's like I can do Linux, I can do Mac, I can do PC, iOS, Android, which the Android platform's been really supercharged and has really it kind of excelled my business because on the warehousing side, like I mentioned, I talked about iPads in the warehouse, but do you think about all the Zebra rugged scanner devices that like UPS, FedEx uses, warehousing uses? That's been a great tool. So it's nice to have that BYO and the company manage and have the flow very easy to use. You want the solution to be easy to use. If not, people don't want to use it. They rebel against it. Makes it harder for me to sell on the client side. And then on the full-time position, I want to be a team player with internal team and the external team. So I don't want to be everybody's favorite person, but at the same time, I want to make tech flow and be part of everybody's lives in an easy manner, not to disrupt or disturb their lives type of thing.
Yeah, and BYO is really important, as you just touched upon iOS and Android on mobile devices, and it's something that there are less or fewer and fewer sort of corporate-owned devices like that, and obviously end users or users don't want kind of too much management or intrusion on the device from a
I
corporate.
agree.
So I think that what JumpCloud can do in terms of almost containerizing the corporate apps, but has no access to the rest of the device, which means you can deploy it onto an end user and say, we're not bothered about the rest of your phone. We're
Sure.
just protecting this small part which has got your corporate email and stuff in. So I think that BYO thing is going to be continue to grow rapidly.
Yes, I do see it quite a bit. I'll add real quick. So one thing kind of fun. My wife's in the commercial private banking side, like wealth management, and so I kind of see, that's going to be a lot more locked down, right? You got banking, you got a lot of sensitive information, you got auto archiving, or messages get destroyed after like let's say a 90 or 120 day or something like that. So I learned some trends like that, and I go, well, is that too extreme for this client, or for my full-time position? Or so I can use some of those trends with it. So whether it's a BYO thing or a company computer, I like to see how those kind of trend out, right? See what different companies are using. And I talk with a lot of colleagues in the industry too, and just we share different experiences, right? What's working, what's not working. Yeah, it's
Absolutely. And I think what generally happens trends wise is those sort of large enterprises that have got these like banking, that have got these sort of regulatory requirements, they do
yes,
filter down in time anyway, whether that be through regulation or just best practice,
agreed.
or through certification, insurance, or however it's driven. Usually that best practice does get down to the SME eventually. So it's good to be aware of it.
So Chris, we were kind of talking a little bit of like compliance or even insurance wise on it. I have some prospects that come up. I've actually just taken one new one back in January that's now turned client. Now we're doing implementing JumpCloud side. We're doing some NetSuite. We're doing Ignite for cloud data. But one thing that has kind of popped up is compliance, right? That's a big talk. Obviously, last year was a very big security focus. This year's kind of speaking AI a little bit. That's the trend. But with the security focus on it, I'm either encountering clients or prospects that either do have cyber insurance, don't have cyber insurance. They've heard about their, a competitor getting a breach and they're worried. So that's why they want to manage product and they come to me. But what's really been helpful for me is actually having everything mapped out with, here's my vision of your outline for the company. Here's how to make you compliant. Okay, let's audit you and see where you're at today. Okay, you're checking off, I don't know, 6 out of 13 items, but those 7 remaining are the most critical. There's no MFA in place. There's no conditional access. Granted, not all those things are required for cyber insurance, but you should probably be using them if you have them, right? So compliance has been a good, if you could market ads, you could go old school handshakes and FaceTime with people, but compliance has been my biggest accelerant for my MSP business, and that's in having the product that matches what's needed there has been great. But yeah, cyber insurance compliance, that's been my a big push for my business, and having the product that matches that and the habits to implement.
Yeah, well, firstly, I think you underplayed slightly the presence of AI in the conversation now, which it seems
True, true.
everything's AI. It's like you can't go through LinkedIn without seeing a dozen posts about AI.
I agree.
But you're right. I think that the insurance thing is a huge thing, and being able to, I guess, mandate the things like the encryption and the MFA,
Yes,
and then evidence that for the insurance companies. That's really important, and I think that more and more MSPs are definitely getting into that space, or having to, because of demand from their clients. Because as you mentioned, they're probably seeing their competitors or their peers being impacted, and they kind of don't want to go down that road. So
I agree.
insurance is going to be a big driver. Yeah.
Yeah, they're super. I love working with the brokers here and there, and they go, "So you're the new guy in town, with my client at that time or new client," and they go, "What are you implementing?" I go, "Here you go. I basically have a white paper ready to go, and obviously I can add or subtract some things on it." And they go, "You're really doing all these things?" I go, "Yes." "Okay, when is this going to be implemented by? Renewal period's coming up at this time." I go, "Well, we're going to be doing it in 2-3 months, if not sooner, depending on what type of audits I've got to do, to kind of discover what I'm jumping into and what we're going to push out." But yeah, it's I'm excited to see you. On the AI side, I'm just if we can have more partners in this seat that I'm in, or seats, I should say, it's AI is just, I want to look at it as an added tool in the toolbox, but also as another partner, right? AI can do, we don't even know everything it can do today, but there's just a lot of fun to be had with that. And I'm looking forward to more innovations, more tech, which is why I do this for a living, right? I like to tinker, as I've said multiple times, and I like to experience and be part of new trends, if not a new process for me that might have already been established. I just love learning and being part of new items.
Yeah, no, AI is incredible, and it is a very much a case of it's there, but what can it do, and how do we make it do it? It's we're so
I agree.
it's at
I agree.
we're at the infancy, and it reminds me a little bit of when we mentioned Google earlier, when Google first came along, and I kind of opened a browser and I went to google.com. I thought, I've got the entire internet. I can do anything on the internet now. What do I do? And then you just Google like your hometown or something. So yeah, with AI, it's so much to do, but it's where do you start with it? And there are so many
Sure.
fantastic solutions coming, which are going to really make life easier for people. And so a lot of MSP tools are coming as well. So I'm sure it's going to be a huge game changer, but we'll see how it goes.
I like it.
So we've spoken about your use of JumpCloud within sort of your main organization and with your clients. I mean, which portions of the product do you use? Do you tend to use most of it or just individual components?
Great question, Chris. So for me, I'm pretty much a full suite guy. Like if I'm going to be doing SSO, I want to make sure you're on the MFA side of it. But at the same time, MFA is great, but a lot of people, once again, we're talking, there might not be a BYO. They might have personal phones. Do we want to have people using their, and this is, on my MSP side, or even on the internal side. But basically the thing is MFA is great. We need it, right? We need to have that security layer, but how can we make MFA easier to use for either company phones or BYO phones? Well, why don't we go ahead and put conditional access in there and bind to a trusted device? So, for example, one of my prospects that came on board, they had MFA in place, but they didn't have an SSO solution. So they had like Microsoft, Google. So everybody had like 4 different authenticators set up, right? So, they get a new phone that's kind of a pain point on things. They go, well, okay, we can make a single MFA point. We can use JumpCloud. We can SSO into all those items, but let's even make it an even better solution for you. And if they're on a trusted device, why do we need to require that MFA side unless we need to secure down a specific SSO app or something else like that for the additional layers? So that's kind of how I trend with things. I'm bringing the SSO in, but I want to, add more layers to it by, protecting with MFA, adding the conditional access. We can block certain locations. We can do, the trusted device side of things. So that's kind of on the directory side. We can obviously import or create on the fly or bring it in from an HR software solution. But now we're going to bring in the device management. So MDM is going to be in place because that needs to work with our conditional access policies, right? To be a trusted device. So that's me using those 2 puzzle pieces of JumpCloud. Then I go, well, great. What does your network look like? Do you have radius specific product? Are we going to be upgrading your Wi-Fi access points? Are we doing a firewall? Are we working on your network rack? So when I kind of see that, I do an audit on that and I suggest certain type of access points. We want to, everybody's got poor Wi-Fi. I always run into like, we don't have Wi-Fi in this area, or, even though they've got 6 PoE access points. So I'm like, okay, let's, go ahead and upgrade your system, but let's also have radius involved. If we got JumpCloud in, why do we want to share a passphrase? Why don't we bring in, a cloud radius server that uses your directory service? So, I'm using those products there. And this is, I would say I've got, right now my MTP, I've got about 11 clients under my MTP that are under the JumpCloud using the full suite. One of them is almost finished implementing, so they're not quite on Radius yet because we're doing the different phases and steps. But I'm using Radius, directory, conditional access, multi-factor, MDM side of it, software distribution, patch management, password manager. That's been a little bit slower on the adoption rate for me because a lot of these clients are about, I'd say 95%, if not more, single sign-on. So I haven't totally brought in password manager for everybody full swing, but I do have a lot of like certain departments. We might have like an accounting department that has things that are just not SSO, bank sites, IRS, other things like that they need something other than a Post-it note. So I'll bring in, password manager and get them to be a fan of it. Then that trickles down to the other departments. Hey, Ricky brought us this password manager tool. We're a fan of it. It works great. Let's go ahead and bring that into other departments. So that's kind of, like I said, I'm bringing the full suite to majority, if not all of my tenants and my first full-time spot. It just works. The different pieces of JumpCloud play well together. And it's almost like you need to use those items unless you have Active Directory already in place and you don't want to migrate off that, or you have Jamf in place or another type of MDM and it just works for that client and you don't want to bring them off at that moment. Then, okay, then we'll only use maybe directory or something. But yeah, we're using the full suite. It's the features, we're using it.
Great to hear. And the thing that you mentioned, I made a note there that no one's got great Wi-Fi. I couldn't agree more with that. I've never spoken to anyone yet. So are you happy with your Wi-Fi? Everyone's always got a problem with Wi-Fi. I think I read a story recently. I think the new Google offices in the UK have opened up and people have been there complaining about the Wi-Fi. No one can get Wi-Fi right. just one of those problems that just is always going to be there. And but it's great to hear you kind of looking at the full suite. And I do agree with what you're mentioning about things like password managers. They're quite, again, nobody really wants a password manager. They're kind of
Sure.
they're never not the most elegant solution in the world, and hopefully passwords are going to begin to go away. But
I agree.
yeah,
I agree.
it's no one really likes working with the password manager. So hopefully, the sooner we can be done with passwords, the better.
Well, I will say on the password list side, I'm very eager for mobile on the trusted device side and JumpCloud Go and all that. So I'm salivating over here. That's going to be one that I'm very excited about because that's kind of a missing piece of the puzzle. Mobile, obviously, you can have the JumpCloud Protect or you can do a TOTP or something like that, but the device is still kind of treated. I don't care if it's in the MDM, whether it's BYO or company managed, Android or iOS. That's that kind of missing piece of the puzzle, right? That's one feature I'm sure I'd pay a certain amount or have my clients pay a certain amount just to have because it's in demand by myself to offer as well as my clients requesting it. So yeah, we're looking forward to password lists for sure. We've been having some fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, watch this space as they say, because I know that hopefully there'll be some good news sooner rather than later on that,
Sure,
which is
sure.
good. Okay, we're flying through the questions actually, but I'm curious to get your take on this, which is around the industry in general, because you're in an unusual position that you're working for an enterprise and you're working with small to medium enterprises yourself, your clients. Are you finding that the clients that you've got on your sort of consulting side, are they coming to you to solve because they're out of their depth, or are they coming to you, or are you finding them, or are you finding that more and more SMEs are kind of wanting to work with MSPs now because things are getting more complex?
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of funny because I hadn't had to experience this much because, like I said, I wasn't trying to push product for a while, and I had more of a reactive with a little bit of proactive without certain solutions under my consulting business. But taking me back to when I did start, we were my partner and I at that time on the MSP starting side for me, we were working alongside internal system admins that were part of our clients, right? So we were like an extra partner at that time, right? To work with somebody internally, suggest products. We were part of the best software. We were doing a lot of Mass 200, Mass 90 for accounting and ERP and all that type of stuff at that time. So we were kind of the experts in that field that the internal IT department needed somebody on the MSP side to bring a solution, be a reseller for the product, help them implement it, get the servers online for it, because a lot of it was on-prem. So my current position now, I'm working with a lot of internal tech departments that are like, hey, we're trying to go to the cloud for a cloud directory. We might not have an MDM in place. We're looking at Intune. We're looking at JumpCloud. We're looking at Jamp. We're looking at all these different things. What is your expert opinion? Let's pay you for your time, whether I'm the one that's implementing it or I'm helping them, or they're just wanting some intel on it and they want an expert in the field. So I'm seeing a lot of increase in that business side of it. And for me, obviously, if I don't have confidence in a certain product or knowledge, I don't like to BS. I'm a type of person that either I have somebody I'll refer over or recommend. I don't like to take something on and kind of fake the walk, right? So for me, I'm confident enough on this field and this part of the industry to be able to take on these requests and business. But yes, to answer your initial question, I am seeing a lot more of partnerships on the internal side, but I'm also maybe they don't have anybody internally and somebody has kind of been wearing the IT hat that might be a operations manager or somebody else like that with the company that did their best, but then now it's time to graduate and they need somebody externally. Or I'm taking over another MSP. We won't mention names that are, larger big box MSPs that they're not giving that white glove, treatment or that personal touch to it. And their tickets in the help desk are 24, 48 hours, no matter how urgent they are. And for me, I take pride in providing the best service possible. I'm more of a customer, a CS rep before I become and bring my tech knowledge and expertise onto it. I feel like good customer service is everything for business. I don't care what industry you're in. So those are all my plus points and what I'm experiencing. But all those variables in place have helped me excel my business in the last few years and made me hungry again to want to grow the business even more. Plus I got daycare bills with the newborn or 2-year-old child now and stuff. So financial obligations up too. There's all motivation on my side of things to go at it. All the variables are there.
Yeah, and you've been really successful. I mean, your growth with JumpCloud's been great. So we do appreciate that a lot. And I guess on that, I've got a final question, if that's okay, which I'll sort of
Sure.
spring on you here, which is, Obviously, JumpCloud, as you mentioned earlier, there's quite a lot of products there, a lot of services that are in there, and there's quite a lot of competition in that space as well in most of those areas.
Sure.
And MSPs have usually got a tool set or a stack of tools, and it's where JumpCloud comes in. So I guess my question would be, if you were at an event or you were chatting with an MSP owner that you bumped into in a restaurant or a bar, and you meant and JumpCloud came up in conversation, I mean, how would you describe JumpCloud, and how would you say to them, or how would you explain that maybe they should take a look at it if they haven't already?
So first thing, obviously, the company cares. And like I said, this is not an ad for JumpCloud or anything else like that. I wouldn't be successful with the product on my internal position or my MSP position if I didn't have JumpCloud support. If there's something I've ran into that the product can't do, or maybe it's not publicized in a documentation or KB article, I've been able to find some type of workaround or solution from the JumpCloud team. My clients are on, the premium support part of the package. My internal is part of the premium support, but before I even reach that premium support channel, because it's not necessarily a 911 situation unless I have to spin up a new feature that a client has said, hey, I need this tomorrow for a certain reason. But whether that's my direct rep that's internally, my account manager on my direct side for my internal, or my multi-tenant portal for my MSP side, which is my partner rep, I normally go through them, and that relation, if JumpCloud lost that, I would worry a little bit, right? So the biggest success of the product is that human interaction and having some type of real partnership and link and relationship with the company and product, right? So when I go into, I do have other colleagues I've introduced the product to, and everybody's like, oh, there's so many solutions that are out there. Yeah, I could try this, try that. I'm so busy. But for me, I push, I'm like, well, if you got a product that's, when I say 90% there, there's certain reasons I say that with JumpCloud. But, if I've got other solutions that we're talking about, there might be 60%, 70% there. They might not do Macs. They might only do Windows. So for JumpCloud, it wears a lot of hats, but it does them well, but it is missing some pieces. So I always present that and talk about that and say, hey, if you had this 90% and that 10% was on a roadmap with JumpCloud and JumpCloud's aware of it, would you like this product that you could get into easily and have this support, available to you? Wouldn't that be a win-win for you? That's pretty much, like I said, it's not a pitch for me, but that's basically the discussion I've already had, whether it's in a pub, whether it's at a convention, whether I do moonlight as a DJ sometimes here and there. So I'll go travel to Vegas, meet up with some friends and that are industry and so forth. And they're like, hey, we're having some trouble finding a solution. And we've had these talks, and they've dragged their feet for months, and they trial the product. And a lot of them now are also supporting the JumpCloud and offering it to their clients. So it's definitely a lifestyle, something I've actually lived through and sharing here right now.
Well, just when I thought you couldn't get any cooler, you dropped in that you're DJ as well. It's incredible. Okay, but I mean, it's really, you've seen obviously the fast pace that JumpCloud's changing, and we do the regular webinars, the partner webinars,
Yes.
which shows what's coming. And you're right. I don't think anyone pretends that it's 100%. It's never probably going to get to 100%.
I agree.
It's evolving so quickly, and I think what we're good at as a company is listening to partners when they say this is something that we think would be beneficial, because we have the mindset that if it's beneficial to you, then hundreds of other MSPs are also going to benefit. So we kind of listen to partners very carefully when it comes to the roadmap.
I've enjoyed, regardless of the MSP side or my internal side, I try my best. It's always hard in the hustle bustle. Obviously, I'm juggling multiple different tenants, including the full-time and lifestyle, and trying to clock out certain times. But I enjoy, and I try to make time on Fridays for the IT hour, which is part of JumpCloud. It's very personable, and it's kind of best way I can describe. It's like, as a DJ, a lot of us during COVID times, during remote, we couldn't spin nightclubs. Everything was closed, so everybody started streaming DJ sets on Twitch. Started interacting with everybody, getting the chats, and trying to make fans or keep old fans or type of thing. I've done plenty of webinars with JumpCloud side. I've actually been a guest on a couple of them sometimes. But one thing I love is the webinar is great. It means business. JumpCloud does listen. They take the questions, give some answers. But the IT hour, it's got that relaxed, like, this is JumpCloud's core here. This is, they're listening to us. They're presenting new features, but they also want to hear what everybody's got to say. And it's a mixture, melting pot of, in-house IT that uses JumpCloud, or, MSP side that, is a partner with JumpCloud. But I love that jive with everything, right? And it's just constantly striving, what's next? How are we going to do this better as a team, for sure?
Yeah. Well, I'll pass that feedback on to Becky. I mean, I occasionally join the IT hours, and I agree. I think they're really good, and it's kind of really interesting to watch because on the left-hand side I can watch the Becky speaking and the panelists and things. It's really good fun. But I enjoy looking on the right-hand side because I get all the comments and people, partners, users interacting with each other about challenges and things. Yeah, I think IT Hour was a great community asset, and it's something that I know that we're going to continue doing. So yeah, thanks for your feedback on that.
Big fan. Don't change it from Fridays. Keep it on Fridays. It kind of eases me into the weekend a little bit. We've gotten through, I don't want to say the battlefields is the best kind of fun with some pun intended on it. We've gone through the grind of the week, but the tech week doesn't always, end on a Friday, right? We're always watching our security logs. We're making sure we might have some after hours maintenance, but it gives a nice relief for being on the treadmill of the tech life for, Monday or, Sunday through Friday type of thing. So I truly enjoy the format and the timing of it all. It's something I feel I need in my day-to-day or week-to-week mix.
No, well, I love the timing because I'm in the UK and it's kind of it's almost the last thing for me on a Friday
That's
afternoon
cool.
to watch that, and then I'm done. So yeah, it works perfectly for me as well. So I'll pass that on to Becky. So yeah, that's we're at time. But thanks so much, Ricky, for joining us today. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks for your continued partnership with JumpCloud. I'm sure we can go from strength to strength. But yeah, good luck with everything in the future, and we'll speak soon.
Awesome, Chris. I had a blast. I appreciate the invite and everything.